Good morning, everyone. Welcome to day 3 of APTConnect. We're so glad you're here. Kudos to all of you early birds who are jumping in nice and early this morning. We're so excited about this particular session. It is 9 o'clock, so we're going to go ahead and get started. I invite you to jump in the chat like we do in every session, say hello, tell us what's good today for you, and I'm going to go ahead and get us started. I'm Sloan Sorbana. I'm the Director of Career Development at your association, and I'm thrilled to welcome you to day 3 of APTConnect, WMFHA's virtual education conference. We did APTConnect last year, hoping it was a one and done deal that we'd be gathering together for an education conference, but here we are. So thank goodness for technology and for all of our amazing presenters that we've had this week. We're really excited to hear from Libby and Lori this morning. I have a couple of very quick housekeeping things for you. One is that you are in webinar format. We can't see or hear from you, but we definitely want to hear from you. So be active in that chat. When you hear something good, make a comment. If you have something to add, make a comment. It is likely you're going to have some really great questions on today's topic, and Lori and Libby are happy to take those. So I'm going to encourage you to use the question bubble at the bottom of your screen. There's a little question icon. Grab that anytime today, put your question in there, and we will take those questions at the end of the session today. We're recording the session, so if you want to go back and watch this again, that'll be loaded by the end of the day in the Map Dynamics platform, where you can go watch this recording again, as well as some cool resources that Lori and Libby made available to you, and a copy of the slides. So with that, I'm going to hand it off to our sponsor this morning. We're really happy to have Christy Butler with Brightview Landscape as our session sponsor. Christy, thank you for all of your partnership with the association, for what you do for our members, and for sponsoring this session.
Thank you, Sloan. Good morning, everyone. As she mentioned, I'm Christy Butler with Brightview Landscapes. We service from pretty much Olympia out to the peninsula, Silverdale, east to Snoqualmie, and as far north as Lake Stevens. And for those of you who haven't worked with us before, we have one of the largest teams in the country. So really consistent, stable services for reoccurring maintenance. We also offer the full spectrum of landscaping services, so we can help you with tree care, irrigation management, redesign, renovation, any of those things that can help boost your curb appeal from an exterior perspective. So if you ever have any questions or need some support on that end, I would love to talk to you. With that, I'll turn it over to Lori Oliver and Libby Hollan from Avenue 5.
Hello, everyone, and welcome from sunny California. For the next 40 minutes, we will be talking about sourcing, interviewing, and hiring with the DEI Focus. So let's go ahead and get started, Libby.
All right, so we're gonna get started with a polling question. So the polling question is, how do you feel about your recruiting efforts in today's environment? Do you feel great? Do you feel good? Do you feel worried? Go ahead and lock in your answer. We'll give you a few seconds. Okay, so it looks like lots of people are worried, which I did expect that result. Recruiting's been tough. It's been a very tough market, but the good news is you're in the right place. We're going to be talking about recruiting and some strategies that you can use to really take your hiring to the next step. So let's talk about it.
So today we're going to be, I'm going to challenge you to think about things differently. We've been doing things a lot, probably much the same, right? But today we wanted to challenge you to do things differently. And all we ask is that you participate and be an active, open listener. So we're going to define diversity. We're going to provide some statistics on why diverse hiring is important. We're going to give you some tools, some resources, and then we're going to walk you through the recruiting process step by step. And one thing we want to remember is let's just face it. We are all trying to hire that great talent, right? The best talent out there. And we're all going to the same pool to try and find them. So I want you to start thinking about, how are you going to make your organization stand out? So today, let's explore how to attract a diverse group of candidates and the start of the hiring process. Thank you. So when resourcing diversity and inclusion, most people quickly discover that it encompasses a lot of different elements. So this can be a little frustrating, and it can also be a little confusing on where you should start. So the events of last year brought D&I to the forefront, and how it's evolved into what it is today, and how it will continue to be a hot topic with many different perspectives. So how many times have you heard recently, either you've heard or you said candidates from a different background just don't apply for our jobs? Or we're not receiving any minority candidates? Or we can only hire who applies? So the problem is these organizations only think about the importance of diversity hiring after the fact. We want to think about it before the fact, right? So when developing an interview strategy, you want to be open to looking for resources everywhere you can. So you want to look into posting on different job boards, focusing on building relationships with colleges, trade schools, read as many books as you can, join webinars. There are a lot of free ones out there being offered right now that focus on recruiting and D&I. You also want to participate in live diverse talks and connect with your national associations such as NAA, SHRM, and your local affiliations, NMHC. Those are great tools. They offer great tools and resources for you to pull from. So let's talk about diversity and how it's defined, because you really got to have an understanding of where that's going to go. So next slide, please, Libby. So we thought we would start with the foundations of diversity and how it relates to recruiting. Not only is diversity recruitment the right thing to do, it's actually the smart thing to do. Having a diverse staff enables us to understand and meet the needs of people from diverse perspectives. It creates atmospheres that supports positive relationships and communication. Different backgrounds and perspectives lead to a variety of ideas, knowledge, and ways of doing things, and you can use the information to create even further ideas. Before embarking on recruitment efforts, you should use the diverse perspective you wish your teams to include. So I want you to think about any challenges you might be facing in recruiting the right staff at the right time. We often think about fit, right? That's one of the things we think about when we're recruiting. Do they fit? We got to find the right fit. So fit doesn't mean hiring someone who is the same as your existing staff. Instead, the concept of fit might be a better understood of thinking of it like a jigsaw puzzle, right? So where the pieces mesh together, but where each piece is unique and contributes its own something that's missing to that puzzle. So here's some things to think about to help you find the right person for the job. You want to understand what constitutes diversity, right? You want to recognize your own biases, both unconscious and conscious. You want to evaluate the diversity of your current team and then include human resources in your recruiting plan. So to improve your chances in attracting diverse candidates when job opportunities arise on your team, start recruiting now by networking with people and groups that are likely to lead to diverse talent and continue to network. So now let's talk about the benefits of hiring diverse talents. Let's get into that. So according to 2017 report published in Harvard Business Review, diverse teams solve problems faster than teams of similar people. So a diverse team can open your organization up to new opportunities you never even knew were there. And here are some numbers to prove it. Associates who believe their organization supports DE&I feel their ability to innovate increases by 83%. Diverse teams make decisions faster, individual workers, and benefit from a 60% improvement in decision making. Another one is companies with inclusive talent practices generate up to 30% higher revenue per associate. That's huge. And then gender diverse companies are 15% more likely to outperform than their competitors. And ethnically diverse companies are 35% more likely to outperform their competitors as well. So now let's take a look at our first resource that we recommend that you use. So this is a resource that we found from Breezy, and we recommend that you add this or something similar to your recruiting strategy. So it's basically a 3-part checklist, and phase 1 is about dig deep on your why. So know the reason. Diversity is not just a checkbox. A lot of times right now, people are like, okay, we just need to check this box. We just need to get ethnic people in here or different diverse people in here. So you need to know the reasons behind your D&I strategy so you can keep your team focused on the goal. So HR expert Katie Oxford says, you need to be very clear about the why and the what. Why are you doing this? Why do you care about diversity and equity and inclusion? Consider these questions. Do I truly have diverse teams working in our company? Do I truly believe that teams working in our diverse teams working in our company make a difference? That's huge. If you don't believe it, you can't sell it, right? Are D&I initiatives vital for our business? If yes, why or why not? What are we trying to achieve by saying we're about diversity? That's huge, because when you're interviewing and recruiting, they're going to ask you that, right? 83% of the people now are asking about D&I in their first few seconds of an interview. Understand the role and privilege in recruitment. People matter, and cultivating human potential is huge. Employers need to use the privilege to advocate for the people and help reach the full potential. Another quote from Zachary Nunn, founder of the Living Corporate, goes on one step further to suggest that the true inclusion means creating power to marginalized employees and allowing them the true authority to lead in the decision. So in this area, you want to think about, what does it mean to be qualified for the role that you're recruiting for? What are the things that got you where you are today? Do all your applicants and candidates have access to those same resources? And what can you do to facilitate the growth of the marginalized employees? Okay, recruit from balanced teams, recruit for your balanced teams and not stats, right? We're not looking at numbers and targeting a certain group because we think we need to add that group to our team, right? Are you underrepresenting groups equally distributed across the company? That's the big question. Look at all your positions. How many people are working with colleagues who are different than themselves? How can you help understand groups connect across teams? How would that benefit your company? So you want to source beyond gender and race, right? That's the focus. When you say diversity right now, that's a lot of things that people are thinking of is just gender and race. Phase 2, take action for diversity. Revamp your job aids. A 2011 published in the journal Personality, Sociology, Physiology, say that 3 times, found that masculine and feminine themed words were acknowledged as mechanisms for maintenance equality. Get them out of your job aids, and you'll immediately attract more diverse applicants. So think about the following. Do underrepresented candidates have the opportunity to apply to my position? Do we post aids on diverse job boards? Is my EEO statement truly encouraging? Do my job aids contain jargon or cliches? And I actively seeking underrepresented groups and encouraging them. Phase 3 is assess, reposition, keep testing, keep trying, take the new normal into account and keep your checklist with you. This checklist would help you stay focused as you're going through. It's also something that you can share with the rest of the team that will be involved in the interviewing process. So you want to make sure that you're all on the same board, you all understand, you have a complete understanding of the why, the what, the actions for your diversity that you're trying to incorporate. Libby, next to you.
Thank you, Lori. Thank you for giving us a really clear definition of diversity and why it's so critical in the hiring process. So we're going to start by talking about a job profile. You might be thinking, what's a job profile? I know what a job description is. Let's talk about it. So most hiring managers know what professional background an ideal candidate should have when they set out to fill an open position. However, the hiring process could be long, and other factors throughout that process could cloud judgment as time progresses. This problem isn't easy to overcome, but creating a comprehensive job profile to consult throughout the hiring process is a good start. Write down the tasks and responsibilities the future hire will take on. Then determine exactly what skills and experience they'll need to have in order to be successful. Share this document with everyone involved in the hiring process so the entire team is always on the same page. Whenever there is a critical decision to be made, consult the job profile. Now, let's talk about something you might be a little more familiar with, job descriptions. So job descriptions should set realistic expectations. It is important for applicants to have a clear, realistic understanding of the responsibilities. Will this person be on call? If yes, the job description should say so. Are weekends required? If so, let's indicate that in the job description. Is public speaking a prominent function of the role? If yes, let's describe describe what that looks like. Information about the working environment should also be mentioned. It's important to note that fast-paced environments are simply not accessible for everyone. Be more intentional. Provide details about the type of teammates this role will interact with on a consistent basis. Is it going to be a large marketing team? Is it going to be executive level, external partners, or will this person mostly work independently? Share information about the types of reports, presentations, and projects this person will participate in. David Fitton, Managing Director of Accelerator Consulting, said, "Job descriptions are most inclusive when they evolve as the job changes. They should be updated at least annually and include input from the individuals doing the job when applicable. Once you have a job profile, you can easily convert it into a job description to post on your website and associated job boards. Just be sure to think about how your word choice can attract or deter people from applying." Now let's take a look at required versus preferred qualifications. So when we're talking about required versus preferred, I think it's important to remember that your job description should be inviting for candidates who have most of the requirements. So consider which of your requirements could be adjusted to preferred requirements. A couple things to think about would be college degree requirement, years of experience, industry experience, software, or even location of experience. Hosea Chang, Chief Operating Officer at Hayden Los Angeles, said, "If you ask for skills, experiences, degrees, and levels of seniority that aren't necessary for success, you'll be reducing your candidate pool and missing out on talented people that would excel in the position you need to fill." He added, "Instead, focus on performance objectives and what a person needs to be able to do and achieve. By doing this, you'll attract candidates with diverse backgrounds and skills that will become assets to your business." Let's talk about gender neutral language. Lori hinted at this earlier, but I want to do a deeper dive into why gender neutral language is so important in your job descriptions and associated ads. According to a 2016 ZipRecruiter study, job listings with gender neutral wording received 43% more responses. That's a lot, especially in this market, 43% more. So what is gendered language? Well, traditionally feminine coded words include support, understand, affectionate. Traditionally masculine coded words include leader, aggressive, ambitious. Do not fear. There are resources that can help you adjust your job description. Gender Decoder is a great tool which scans your job descriptions for a gender bias. This resource will even identify which words are creating that bias so that you can revise. Excessive use of superlatives such as expert, superior, world-class can deter candidates, particularly women or non-men, from applying. Research also shows that women are less likely than men to brag about their accomplishments. In addition, superlatives related to a candidate's background can limit the pool of female applicants because there may be very few women currently in leading positions at world-class firms. It can be tempting to list dozens of things that you want from this ideal candidate, but this is in fact restricting the number of people applying to your position. It has been documented that women will not apply for a position unless they believe they are 100% qualified. So the more boxes you're asking people to tick, the fewer people can tick all of those boxes, which will result in fewer applications. This results in a heavily depleted selection of potential employees. You want the best? You need to cast that net wide and far. Edit down your job description to the key must-haves. for candidates and remove the things you consider desirable. Yes, it would be absolutely amazing to have someone who could teach blindfolded unicycling in your office, but it's probably not required for the role. So make sure you focus on what's truly essential. This will encourage far more potential employees to send over their details and allow you to work with a larger pool of candidates. It has also been shown that more succinct, simpler, easy to read job descriptions receive a far greater number of applications. Sometimes less is truly more. Now let's talk about how to find diverse candidates. So the first thing I want to focus on is skills versus experience. So as an employer, it's important to remember that you are hiring a person, not just a collection of experiences. There is so much more to the job than just doing the tasks that need to be done. Employment soft skills are where the person will succeed. And those other essential but less tangible areas, such as reliability, innovation, creativity, and dedication. Experience can be gained, taught, and crafted. It is much harder to mold who the person is because individual identity is much more entrenched. We've all seen how a single toxic person can damage staff morale, customer relations, and the profit margins of businesses. But we've also seen how a hardworking, morale-building, approachable, and dependable employee can become the person everyone turns to for help and makes the business a better place to work. It is organizationally and financially essential to choose the right person when hiring. When you hire for experience, you're hiring for someone's past, which might be all they can give you. When you hire for someone's skills, you're hiring for their future, which is really what they are looking to give you long term. Another thing to think about is focusing on proactive connections with candidates. Candidate pipelining is a great way to maintain a pool of qualified candidates who are interested in your organization. The key to good pipelining is strategically thinking about which roles really need a pipeline. This will help you avoid wasting time and resources on roles that really don't demand a long-term strategy. You're likely to get the greatest return on investment from talent pipelines focused on hard-to-fill roles or positions you're hiring for frequently. Having engaged and interested candidates already in mind for these roles can significantly reduce your time to fill and ensure the roles don't stay vacant for long. So how do you begin pipelining? So to start pipelining for a particular role, you might simply start tracking strong candidates, maybe finalists that were not hired, employee referrals, sourced candidates, or even someone you meet through networking, like Tapas and Topics, for example. A simple spreadsheet will do. Log their name, contact information, resume, or even a LinkedIn profile link or any other pertinent details. Don't forget to track each interaction you have with them for future reference. Now, let's talk about sources. There are many wonderful places to source candidates from. It's important to test different platforms to determine which sources produce the best results for your organization. It is important to consider the type of role you are hiring for and tailor that strategy accordingly. Internal candidates and associate referrals are another effective option to source high-quality candidates. However, people do tend to refer people who are similar to themselves, which might not provide the most diverse talent pool. That being said, internal sourcing can contribute for up to 40% of your talent pool, depending on the role. Another way to source candidates is through professional networks like LinkedIn and your local industry groups. Connecting with your networking groups can help you find a candidate with certain expertise or experience, or when you need to fill that hard to source for role. Remember, The more that you promote your role in various platforms, the more candidates you'll reach. Now, Lori, let's explore some diversity-focused job boards. Lori, you're muted.
I caught that. Thank you. Thank you, Libby. That's some great information. So building a diverse candidate pool from your current job boards can be a struggle. However, no worries. Here are a few job boards provided by Breezy that we recommend you use. Some are free and some do cost a little money, but I'm just going to highlight a few that we use. First one is diversity.com. This has been around for nearly 20 years, and it's one of the premier job posting sites for Black minority candidates. The next one is PDN Recruits. It's a top talent for multi-minority groups. Hispanic Latino Professionals Association, you may have heard of them. It's HLPA, and they highly skilled talent from the Hispanic and Latinx community. Workplace Diversity. The workplacediversity.com has been connecting with companies with candidates from all types of different backgrounds for over 15 years. And they actually have 160,000 unique monthly visitors, which is huge. So you probably want to jump on that one immediately. And over 1 million total page views. So there's a good chance you'll find some really good people there on that one. They also have an entire portfolio of job sites, including workplacediversity.com, veterans, disabilityconnect.com, hispanicdiversity.com, outandequal.com, and alldiversity.com. So that's all part of their platform that they reach out to. So that's a really good one for you to use. Pink Jobs, that's another one. It's a wide range of highly skilled candidates from the LGBTQ plus community. And then Retire Brains, how many of us are looking for part-time positions and we always try and go to the college, right? Well, this is the one for the retirement community looking for part-time work and where they can work from their home. So that's a really good one to tap into. And then don't struggle to create your diverse pool. Finding the right tools and resources can be really easy. Just start networking and getting out there. Okay, so now let's get back to the resume, right? So we're gonna move on to the resume. The resumes are meant to provide insight into candidate background, but they often reveal much more about who we are and as interviewers, and we sometimes allow that bias to get into our way, right? So I'm just going to highlight a few things, a few biases that may come up when we're going through the recruiting and the interview and reviewing the resume process. Number one is stereotyping with resumes, forming an opinion about how people of a given gender, religion, race, or parent, or other characteristics think, act, and respond, or will perform on the job. Another one is inconsistency in questioning. Asking different questions of each candidate leads to a skewed assessment of who would best perform the job. So you want to make sure that you're prepared with your questions. First impressions sometimes can be a bias as well. An interviewer might make a snap judgment about someone based on their first impression, positive or negative, that clouds the interview process. Negative emphasis. This involves rejection of a candidate based on small amount of negative information, a common occurrence. Halo or horn effect. This was pretty popular. I'm sure y'all heard of this one before. And that effect occurs when the interviewer allows one strong point about that candidate to overshadow or have an effect on everything else. So for instance, knowing someone went to a particular university might be looked at upon as favorable, right? That's the good candidate, it's the perfect candidate. We were looking to hire someone with a degree. They're perfect. Not necessarily. Cultural noise. Since the candidate wants the job, she or he or they may provide the words for the interviewer wants to hear. So even those words are not even though those words aren't entirely true, the interviewer gets connected with those words and thinking, oh, they're good, they're perfect, but that may not be the case. And then nonverbal bias. This one is undue emphasis might be placed on nonverbal cues that have nothing to do with the job, such as loudness or softness of voice or the type of handshake even the person gave you. Contrast effect. The stronger candidates who interview after weak candidates, we've all had that before, and ones may appear more qualified than they are because of the contrast between the two, right? So those are just a few biases. One thing we also want you to think about when you're reviewing resumes is when you're using job boards like Indeed, just remember a resume may be outdated. So don't dismiss the candidate based on the resume only. So I'm just going to give you a quick example to clarify that. So let's say the resume may state that they have 2 years experience. However, you're looking for someone with 4 years experience. You have to, I would still reach out to that person because in actuality, maybe they actually have 4 years experience, but their resume hasn't been updated yet on Indeed. So extra details can also cause bias to occur before a company even speaks with candidates. So for example, studies show that people with uncommon names have harder times getting hired, right? Since some recruiters or hiring managers would rather move on to the next candidate than struggle with the pronunciation of someone's name. So in other cases, the year someone graduated from college or the school they attended can lead to ageism or assumptions about their intelligence, right? So you want to be careful with that. Again, what matters is the candidate's skills and their experience. Don't be afraid to ask someone how to pronounce their name. That's okay to ask. It can also be beneficial to establish organization policies that candidates' college has no bearing on how you evaluate them for the job. I know at one point in our industry, we were looking for just people with degrees, right? But you have to kind of come up with a policy on that. And one note that we have in doing our research is that Google actually stopped hiring candidates exclusively from top tier universities after they discovered it wasn't a predictor of the future job success for that person. So don't get caught up on one thing thinking that they're perfect for you. Simply being aware of the biases that stem from reviewing a resume is the first step in combating them. Some organizations even use things such as blind recruiting, and that's just the process for removing all identification details from the resume, so only the skills and experience are displayed. That kind of helps you with that bias as well. So it's worth looking into. It may cost a little money or may take a little time if you choose to use the blind interviewing recruitment process, but it is a good thing to try and use. Libby, I think you have another poll coming up, right?
I do. So get ready. The next polling question is, how long is your interview process at your company? So does your interview process take 1 to 2 weeks, 3 to 4, or 3 to 4 weeks? And when we talk about interview process, that's from posting the position to extending an offer. So we'll give you a few seconds to lock in your answer there. I'm excited to see the results on this one. All right, let's look at the results. Oh, 1 to 2 weeks was the top answer. That's great. I mean, especially in the trends we're seeing in Washington, especially Seattle, that's impressive. That's certainly where we should be. Some roles do take longer than that, especially if it's maintenance or really specialized position, might take a little bit longer. The current industry average time to fill is 33 days. So if you are coming in, filling that role right at 4 weeks, you are still hitting the industry average or coming in just below the industry average. So that's a great target point. Thank you for sharing those results. And that takes us to talking about what are some of the challenges. I wanted to share some data. So if you are a numbers person, get your pen ready because I'm going to launch some data at you. First thing I wanted to talk about was the current national unemployment rate. This number we're looking at for August 2021, and that is 5.2%. The Washington unemployment rate is 5.0%, so just a little lower. And then I'm going to go ahead and launch some numbers at you. So I'm going to give you unemployment rates for certain counties in Washington. So King, we are looking at 4.8, Pierce, 5.3, Snohomish, 5.6, Kitsap, 4.4, Benton, 4.8, Franklin, 5.2, and Spokane, 4.5. Signing bonuses have become much more popular over the past few months, not only in our industry, but just across the board, corporate and, on-site positions. There is no one size fits all for signing bonuses. There's ways to be creative or to adjust your strategy as the role progresses. $1,500 to $3,000 has been the most competitive signing bonus range for our industry, specifically in Seattle. Some companies are offering the entire amount after 30 days. Others split the amount over a designated period of time. A competitive signing bonus coupled with a housing discount is a great way to make your role stand out. A final reminder, it is important to move quickly with candidates. A 15-minute phone call with a candidate to determine interest, share details about the opportunity, feature your benefits, and schedule the next interview will go a very long way. Be sure to provide candidates with updates throughout the process. If there's a delay, communicate that. If you would like to do a Zoom interview instead of an in-person interview, communicate that. I would say if you can over-communicate, this is the time to do that. And speaking of interviewing and moving quickly, we're going to launch another polling question. So at your organization, on average, how many interviews does a candidate go through? 1 to 2, 3 to 4, 4 or more? Go ahead and lock in your answers. Okay, let's look at the results. Okay, 1 to 2 is the most popular answer. Again, that's great. Y'all are superstars. This is awesome. So I would say if you can get the hiring process done in 1 to 2 interviews, that's ideal. We need to move quickly. Candidates have options. But of course, there are certain roles, especially if it's a leadership role, where you may need more than 2 interviews. But I would say just be cognizant of how many interviews you're doing. And when possible, communicate that to the candidate up front. You know, during that first call, say, hey, here's what our interview process looks like. You'll be meeting with this person, this person, this person, total of 3 interviews. So be upfront, communicate as much as possible. And Lori, I think you have some more information about interviewing for us.
Yes, I do. Absolutely. We've given you a lot of information so far. So we just want to kind of touch on interviewing best practices. So it's obviously important to avoid gender-specific pronouns, never refer to the future hire as he or she, instead use inclusive language like the ideal candidate or the future hire. You want to, if you have green flags to move forward, you want to move forward quickly. You don't want to lose the candidate. Also showcase employment benefits and company policy. Everyone does appreciate employment benefits, but some people really do rely on them more than others. So you want to make sure that you're highlighting what your company offers, helps attract talented candidates who value more than just the paycheck in their job. So, however, if you're committed to diverse hiring and thinking outside the box with benefits and company policies, here's some examples that you can use for that, for thinking out of the box for your benefits. Some well-known brands make every employee compensation details publicly available to combat income inequality. Others allow employees to select what holidays they choose to observe to be more inclusive to people's different religions. I know here at our company, we actually give you your birthday as a holiday, which is really cool benefit. Consider what benefits and perks your company can feasibly offer to be a great place for everyone to work and to be a team of. By the end of your interview process, we hope that you found the ideal associate. And so let's get to that next step, the offer letter, Libby.
Awesome. So you found that associate. What's next? So the offer is critical. As I've mentioned a few times, in today's market, you got to get that offer out fast. Here are 3 areas you should focus on when extending offer letters. 1 is timing. After you've completed all necessary pre-hire stages, it's important to move quickly to the offer stage. If a step in the process is causing a delay, like we said earlier, communicate that to the candidate and provide a new ETA. The second thing to think about is the wording of the offer. The offer should be engaging. As Lori just said, benefits are really important to highlight. It's important to highlight additional compensation, such as bonuses, phone allowance, car allowance, educational stipend, etc. Candidates want to be informed and be prepared to make informed decisions. The third thing is the onboarding process. Starting a new position can be really stressful and nerve-wracking. So ensure the new hire has a very clear picture of what the next steps in the onboarding process are and what is that associated timeline. This is a good time to highlight your new hire training process and training resources. So congratulations on your hire.
Okay, and I'd like to wrap our session up with this quote from Vera Myers. She's a culture change catalyst, and it's just something to keep you in mind for hiring, and just remembering it's not just about getting them in the door. It's also about ensuring that they stay. So that is another session for another day, but I want you to keep this in mind. Diversity is being invited to the party. So that's the recruiting, right? You're inviting them to that party. But inclusion is being asked to dance. But belonging is dancing like there's no one watching. So letting them feel welcome, like they're belonging. We hope that you got a lot of good information that's leading you to that point that your candidate's going to want to stay. So with that, Sloan, do we have any questions?
Yes, we do. First of all, thank you. I know there were so many comments about this is so great, so many great resources. And they did want to let everyone know that Lori and Libby put a really cool one-pager together for you, and it's in the links and resources tab for this session. So I would definitely go download that. Also, their LinkedIn contact information is on their profile, so you can connect with them that way. They both have such a wealth of information. So first of all, thank you for a really wonderful session. I have a ton of questions, but we also have questions in the chat or in the Q&A here. So I want to get to the first one. This is from Phil Reinert, and he says, I love the idea of reaching back out to past candidates to fill roles. Any suggestions on how to keep that connection relevant so they don't feel like, oh, sure, you passed on me and now like a year later you're calling me? Like, how do you keep that fresh?
Yeah, great question, Phil. I'd love to answer this one because it's something I think about often too. I would say a really great way to do this is to reach out, and you could do it a couple different ways. I would say the most common thing I do is just provide an update. Hey, we've been growing over the past few months. We added 3 properties to the Seattle market. We have a role that I think would be a really great fit for you. Love to check in and see if you're interested. So I think a good angle could be talking about what's going on at your company. Think of it as just kind of an impromptu newsletter. Another thing, flatter them a little. I've been thinking about our connection last year. I hope you're doing well. Do you have time for a 15-minute call just to catch up, scope it out, and then proceed to talking about a position if they're open to making a change? So I would just say do connection points. As I mentioned during pipelining, using a tracker is so helpful because you can create a column that says date last contacted so that you can make sure you're touching base every few months or so. So that would be my suggestion. I don't know if Lori has any thoughts as well.
Absolutely. I think that's a great idea. I know one thing I've done in the past is I've created a networking folder to keep my networking in there alive. So I put it in there by position. So I'll click on if I'm looking for something for a certain position, or I want to reach out, as Libby said, because I have something coming up in the pipeline. I'll just click in there and I could see all the resumes that I wanted to keep in touch with in one spot for each position.
Yeah, that's really good. There were so many things that you said that should make sense to us, right? But I think as we're moving forward and, kind of relearning ourselves and the way we approach this, when you said, if you hire for experience, you get their past. If you hire for skill, you get their future. That was huge. And obviously you want to know what they've done in their past. It is a good indicator of future, but doesn't guarantee anything. So I thought that was an incredible statement. A question for you around signing bonuses. Are you doing, for the companies that are kind of like wading into that, but they're a little nervous, like what if I give them a $2,000 signing bonus and they leave? Like, what are the mechanisms you put into place? Is there a minimum amount of tenure, that they have to work to get that, or without having to pay it back? Or how's Avenue 5 doing that with signing bonuses?
Yeah, great question. I know signing bonuses are a big topic right now. So it actually, for us, because we're third party, it does depend on the particular role and what the client has agreed to. I would say for most of our signing bonuses, we give either the full or half of the amount after 30 days of employment. And I know it's scary. I know, I certainly understand the thought of someone taking the signing bonus and leaving. The reality is, starting a new job is a whole to-do. And I think, people are not going to take a job simply for a signing bonus. I think it's just too much work, and that signing bonus is taxed. So I think that's something to think about.
Yeah. So Crystal put a really cool comment in the chat that I think is also kind of a question. So how do you handle, and Libby, you're recruiting, so I'm sure you deal with this. so many counter offers from their current company. So if they're looking to make a move, they come to you, they get all hyped up, jazz, yeah, whatever. And then you think they're taking the job and they're come like, oh my gosh, my company's offering me all of this to stay. How are you handling counter offers?
Yeah, I would say stay in touch with them. There are statistics that show that people who leave a company and then stay, they end up leaving within, I think it's within 18 months. So they're going to leave eventually. So if they're a really great candidate, that would be my advice. Stay in touch. Of course, keep that door open. Let them know, I completely understand. Thank you for letting me know. As a reminder, here's what this property, this role entails. Here's our benefits package. Here's my cell phone number. Feel welcome to reach out. And like I said, eventually that person will be making a move. So that would be my advice. Stay in touch.
Yeah, that's a good
one other thing just to add, don't take it personal. Don't take it personal. It's happening everywhere.
Yes. Okay, so last question, if anybody has a question, now's your time to throw it in there because we have two wonderful minds that can answer them for you right now. Your comment about sourcing beyond gender and race. Of course, we all kind of a little bit hardwired. When we think diversity, that's the first thing that we think about, right? So speak to that a little bit more, and how do you do that? How do you source beyond gender and race? Like, how do I get my mind to go there, and then what is that, and how do I do that?
Okay, so I'll take the first part of it. It's looking for their skill set and matching it to the job. That's one way to get out of that gender and race. Another example that we gave is trying to remove, so you're not seeing the name, you're just seeing the skill set. I think that's really important. And just understanding that there's so much more that encompasses with diversity and equity and inclusion. I mean, you have age, you have disability, you have discrimination towards youth at work. So just looking beyond that and just really trying to have an open mind and focus on the skill set and the experience. And Libby, do you want to add anything to that?
Absolutely. So I think when you're sourcing, especially if maybe you don't have access to lots of different diverse job boards yet, I would say focus on searching for people maybe that are coming from hotels or different types of industry, so that if you're searching for diverse types of experience or diverse companies or from different sources, you're going to get a more diverse talent pool. And I think some of it is just confronting your own biases. We all have biases. There's not much we can do about it except be aware of it and confront it. So if you're looking at a resume and you're thinking, I'm not really sure, I think they're unqualified. Why do you think that? They have 5 years of experience. Why are you thinking that? So I think just being reflective and informative and thinking outside the box about transferable skill sets will help.
Yeah.
And then one other thing is just being careful when you are passing the candidate on to their next interview level is not to interject your biases to that next person. That's really important. Keep it to the skills and the experience, not your feelings, not your emotion, and not your thoughts because they happen to be a couple of minutes late.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's good. Nisha in the comments, like I was right about, like, I have so many biases that I try not to have, but they roar in, right? And she said, when somebody's late, it just sets me off. And I'm that way. I'm old school. Like, you show up, you be on time, but that if that's your first deal breaker, you could really be losing out on a good candidate, right? Well, ladies, I mean, I could go on and on. I have so many questions. Your comment about getting input on job description refreshes from people actually doing the job, like that should be on a marquee somewhere for all of us. I'm sure we could all learn a lot about that. But thank you so much. You see the slide here. When you exit from this webinar, a survey is going to pop up, and we really love your input on how you felt about this session today. Remember, we've recorded this and we'll have that video up starting tomorrow, and you all, as paid attendees of this conference, have access to all of the classes until October 29th. So I encourage you to rewatch this, share it with another paid attendee who didn't get a chance to see it, download that one pager that they provided to you. I wanted to tell you who our winner is. Our $50 gift card winner went to the first person to ask a question in the question room, and that was Phil Reinert with Security Properties. So Phil, congratulations. We'll be sending you a $50 Tango gift card where you can go choose a gift card of your choice. And with that, we're going to let you go. We hope you join us. The next session is the 12 C's of Leadership with Rich George. Going to be really incredible. There you see Lori and Libby's contact information. They welcome your contact. And Libby and Lori, thank you so much. This was really wonderful. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Have a great day, everyone.
Bye-bye.